For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chris Duguay. I've been a trainer for 25 years now, doing strength training and nutrition. I met Mike when I was working in Toronto at the Pavilion. I was very fortunate to take a contract to take over, at the time, the biggest sports club in Canada. We had 2 rinks, so it was pretty easy to see that any team that came in to play against Toronto would come and practice at our facility, either the day before or practice on the way out. So having a facility like that, you get the opportunity to meet a lot of NHL players, and with a facility of $36 million and the equipment we had, they also thought, well, I might as well just train there too. So at the time, I had 36 trainers working for me, and we were very, very lucky to be able to meet a big group of the guys. So I'd like to introduce Mike. So this is Mike Zigomanis, everyone. So I trained Mike from 2006 to 2009, with his VO2 level being one of the highest in the league, and his conditioning second to none. His dedication really paid off in 2009.
72.5.
Sorry, 72.5 VO2. All right. He won the Stanley Cup in 2009 with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and his face-off percentage was the highest in the NHL then. So pretty big brag.
67.
67.
Point break.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. So I asked Mike to come out and share some of his insights on what it takes to get to that level, the hardships, the fights, the mindset of what it actually takes to see a dream actually come reality. Okay, Mike, so the first question I have for you is, when did it become a reality for you when you were playing midget that the OHL was actually something that was achievable?
Yeah, so thanks a lot. Going to the OHL, yeah, I get that a lot. When did you kind of think you were going to make it? What was that step? And it was only the year before that scouts started to come around, and the OHL was somewhere that I wanted to play in. Okay. It wasn't a 13 or 12, but yeah, it was. I didn't come from a big sports background. My parents are both born in Greece, immigrants to Canada, and sports is always kind of set. It was all about education, and we're in a new country. Some are prosperous, some that took us in, and it meant a lot to my family. So my parents were all about Canada first, and then sports was just kind of something on the side, but it was all about education. So OHL, yeah, not till the year before. Okay. And then it was a decision. You go to the OHL, you go to college, and yeah, so I work with a lot of minor hockey players. This year I've coached about 150 of them. All of them come to me constantly about going to the OHL, what it was like, and how I played 4 years with Kingston Frontenacs. And it is a difficult decision, something you have to think about with your family and friends and figure out what's best for you. But going to the OHL at 16, I think is very early. I had 2 of my nephews live with me for a couple of years at that age, and thinking about them by themselves in a new city, trying to get around is tough to think about. But yeah, at 16 I left home. Very difficult, very close to my family, and it was a really big step. But something where you had to kind of grow up in a hurry. And it was the learning experience and hockey from that 16, 17, those first 2 years, really kind of set the stage for my career, and really I got to see adversity kind of right in my face the first time. No parents around, didn't have my support system, and really had to grow up.
Yeah. Okay, now going from, let's say, major midget, going into the OHL, what was the biggest challenges you had to make, like the stepping stone to get there? What was the big difference? Like from like a physical standpoint, mindset standpoint, like what was the biggest changes you had to make?
So my first year, I had a really good team, a lot of NHLers, almost everyone was drafted. I came in and got 74 points, which was second in the league that year. I forget who won it. In 1997, but 74 points for an underager was the most, and was somewhat high. So I came into a situation that was really easy. Nothing really changed from minor hockey to the OHL. I played a lot. I played on the top line. My right winger was Matt Bradley, who played for the World Juniors that year, who was my top scorer. And my left winger was a 55-goal scorer. So things are pretty easy for you when you're playing with those two guys. My second year, I was projected, was my draft year, I was projected to be a 100-point player and came away with 80-something points and not even 30 goals. So I was supposed to be a 40, 50 goal scorer with 100-plus points, and it didn't happen. Our team wasn't very good, and I kind of dealt with not scoring early in the season. And it was really my first time, when I mentioned at the start of our talk here about adversity, it was the first time where things didn't really go well, and you're not going to move teams, you're not going to move leagues, you don't have your parents there all the time to help you through it, living with a new family. We had a new assistant coach that year, different players on the team. So it was kind of the first time where I didn't meet expectations. And I think that's something important to talk about as you get older, and expectations. So expectations, they can be good and bad. You always want to push yourself and improve every single day, but at the same time, you don't want to let expectations get you in a negative state, get you down, get you depressed. So yeah, that second year was kind of a tough year, but that first year, yeah, everything kind of came. It wasn't too bad. The pace was faster, but I was playing with good players. Schooling was difficult, not having my support system that I had in Toronto, and having my parents and sisters around. Yeah, so second year.
The adversity came.
Yeah, the adversity. So that was kind of the first time I got to deal with not scoring, and it was difficult. And we'll stay on adversity for a minute if you want to. I don't want to jump around too much, but I think the next time that happened and how to deal with it was, I'd never been cut from a team. I'd never been told, you're not good enough to play here. And that happened at the pro level when I was 20. So I did have to deal with that little bit of adversity, but that was just not scoring. And I was given every opportunity to score the rest of the year. You know, everyone said, oh, you had 85 points, or you had this many points. And I always tell players, when you have that opportunity, it's not that difficult. It's getting on the ice and getting the opportunity. Like when you see these players score 70 points in a season, they're playing so much, they're going to get 60 points anyways, playing with the players. So I always talk about that. I had 14 goals one year in the NHL, and I was averaged about 12 minutes. I probably was going to get any player in my position, but I got 10 goals. So it's like, okay, I scored another 4.
Playing with Sid, yeah, you would have scored 25, no problem.
Well, Sidney Crosby that year actually played with me, so just want to set the record straight. And funny story, Sid, everyone wants to talk about Crosby and what he's doing now at this age. This is someone who comes to the rink every single day, and there is no day off. A lot of these top players, when I go to practice, I can outplay them, I can look good, and kind of keeps my standing on a team. Sidney Crosby would show up every day in Pittsburgh when I was there in 08, 09, and try to beat me up every single day at the rink. There was no 90%, no 95, no, oh, we're gonna go easy today. Every drill, he would try to embarrass our defensemen, and did. So when you see him now play and he's this successful at this age, this is just something he's used to. He treats every practice like it's a game. And I always get a lot of questions saying, well, what separates guys like you, just NHLers, or guys that are on the 4th line, 3rd line, and a top player? And Sidney Crosby's good. He's very talented, but he just loves it more. He loved the game more than I did. And that was probably the biggest separating factor between the top players and kind of everybody else. And a lot of people have a hard time believing that, but it's the truth. It's not something I like to talk about. I love playing. I love going to the rink. But a guy like Sidney Crosby he loves scoring more in practice than I love scoring in a game, and he can't compete with it. He just can't. Night in, night out. Yeah, and it's in every sport. Like if you watch, Kobe Bryant, or if you watch Michael Jordan in, was it The Last Dance, the series?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you watch those documentaries, you see these guys. There's no off switch. So yeah, playing with those top guys it was really special. Playing with Malkin. Malkin was a special talent. Didn't care what the coaches ever said, didn't care what the media said, he just kind of went and did his own thing. So those two guys were great to play with in Pittsburgh.
I just find at 15, the guys like what you just said, like not putting up the points, they're so worried about their goals for the draft year that sometimes you put so much pressure on yourself to score that you're not on a team that enables you to score. I love that you said that.
Yeah, so if things aren't going well and your emotions, maybe you're frustrated, you're angry with the way you're playing, you kind of have to detach from those. That's the first thing. So what kind of emotion are you feeling at that point? You need to step back a minute. A lot of players I played with in the minors would come to me and say, I'm not playing right now, what do I do? And they're so angry, so frustrated, they wanted to run into the coach's office that second during the game where they got scratched. And I always used to tell them 24 hours, don't go in there when you're angry because you're going to say something and you'll never be able to walk it back. So if you're not happy with your ice time or you're not scoring, take 24 hours, go home, talk to your parents, talk to your guardian, talk to your brother, sister, talk to your buddy, then kind of go back in. When your game is not where it needs to be, something I did in junior was I would always get my goals from the year prior and I would play them before going to the rink. And then throughout the year, I would every 6-7 games try to grab all my highlights from one of our coaches, put them on VHS. Do you know what VHS is? This tape where you put it into a machine and then it would come on the screen. So you take your highlights, and I would watch them before the game, and I noticed that when things weren't right during a game, or if they weren't right during a 3-4 game stretch, the more I watched the highlights before going to the rink, the better I would mentally prepare for that if things didn't go well. So in a game, if I had 2 empty net, puck wasn't going in, or had a stretch where I wasn't scoring, I would just kind of replay in my mind, even on the bench, all those highlights of my season or the year prior. So I think that's something for all you guys to kind of start it now. Because you want to have that as part of your routine where you're not really thinking about it. You're going to your game, you throw on your DVD or you throw on your USB and have all your clips on an email, pull them up, and watch all the goals you scored or defensive plays you made or stops. It's great to visualize before you go in. So it's something what's the youngest we have today, 14? 14, I'm assuming. Yeah, so it's a good time to start your routine, start your habits. Going in with Duguay into the pavilion and training in the summer was a real important time of my career. It was when I was going with Phoenix. I just signed, Gretzky was the coach, and I had always worked out a lot, but I don't think I really worked smart, and I didn't really train for my strengths on the ice. And that's something we did with Duguay Pavilion, and I appreciate that a lot. I look back on it, and it's people like that really made my career when I look back. And I probably didn't know it at the time, or I didn't show the appreciation enough, but going into workout every day, we worked out hard, we worked out long hours, and Duguay was, another thing is, he was happy every single day. There was no day where it was like, he didn't want to be there, or he was tired, or he was in a bad mood. Every day I got to go work out at the gym or at the rink, he was in a good mood. And that's something that's really important for you guys. Every day you go to the rink, you got to be in a positive attitude. Doesn't matter what's happening at home. When you go into the rink, you got to be the happiest, best guy you can going into the rink. It's very important. Because making it at any level, whether it's you're going to junior, OHL, college, pro, playing Europe, whatever you want to do, it's 50% on how much the veterans and the guys on the team like you, and 50% of actually how good you are. Unless you're a guy like Crosby or McDavid, doesn't matter what mood you're in or how much they like you, you're going to be there. But for the 98% of the rest of us, it's what I noticed is the young guys that made it and gelled with the team. It was like that 50% of how much do the veterans like you on the team. So that's something very important. Always being happy going to the rink, being a good teammate, being good on the bench. And that was Dugay when I was at Billy, and a guy on my team that showed me, this is a great day. You don't have to be here. You get to be here. You get to do this. So that was something I learned from him back in the day, and it helped me a lot in my career.
Anybody got any questions, guys?
Mike, I checked your career on Wikipedia a little bit, and it just boggles my mind. Who buggered up your entry-level contract?
Entry-level contract. Okay, he was going to ask me this. What happened? He doesn't even know. So
I never asked you.
yeah.
I had to keep positive.
Okay, so I got drafted by the Buffalo Sabres in '99, and the way it works is you have 2 years to sign. If you don't sign by June 1st, you re-enter the draft that year. So I didn't sign with Buffalo, re-entered in '01, drafted by Carolina Hurricanes. Why did I enter the draft? The way Buffalo negotiates is they don't talk to you until a couple days before the deadline, just to get you the lowest number. It's all a negotiating tactic. So finally, within the last hour, we both agreed on a number. We both agreed on my signing bonus, on my salary, everything. We sent in the contract in time with 5 minutes to go. They sent the contract in with 5 minutes to go, but they're different contracts. So the last minute though, I think there was 4 or 5 other players, maybe more, trying to get the contracts in. This is when you actually had to fax your contract notes. Had to go through a fax. You couldn't email it, you couldn't call it in back then in 2001. So they realized they made a mistake on their end. They corrected it, but it went back 1 minute over the time limit. It was on a Friday. The league said they'd make their decision by Monday. Monday came, the league said, okay, we'll let the contracts in there 1 minute late. There was a jam with the fax. Okay, that's a great story as it is, but it gets a lot worse. And no one knows about this.
For you or Buffalo?
Yeah, it was bad in Buffalo too. I knew one of the scouts, and he was good friends with the head scout, and it was just like, it was not good with the organization. You don't want to let any of your top 3, like first, second, third rounders, you want to sign them all. So what happened was the league let my contract in on the Monday. I got the call, okay, but I left the whole weekend in limbo, your contract's not going through. Monday the league says, okay, yes, we'll let it go through, but the issue with the entry levels, or maybe all, but especially our entry level, the PA, the Players Association, they have to sign off on the contract as well. So there's 3 contracts that got finalized 1 minute after the deadline. But then the PA said, we're not letting the contracts go through. Call my agent, I said, isn't the PA on my side? Wouldn't they want our contracts to go through? He says, yes, but they're using it as a negotiation. He's using you guys as kind of like negotiating chips. They wanted 3 rules changed with the way entry-level contracts are submitted. They wanted to go like online. They wanted to make a number of changes in the CBA, but we weren't bargaining. Our CBA wasn't up. So the PA said, we're not letting these 3 contracts in unless these couple things get changed in the CBA. Then the NHL came back a couple days later and says, no, we're not letting it in. So the Players Association said, we're not letting the 3 contracts in. So what happened with my entry level was my action. The NHL, PA, our Players Association, didn't let our contracts in. So that's after 2 years, so I was after my 4th year. I had 1 year of junior left, drafted by Carolina in '01, and then signed with them the day of the first home opener in the minors. So I got cut, went to the minors, played the full year in Lowell, Massachusetts, and I signed a 3-year with the Carolina Hurricanes, but it wasn't the same contract, unfortunately, but it was an NHL contract. So I got cut my first year. My second year, I got called up the last 20 games, scored my first goal. I was, cloud 9, made the NHL, but in the back of my mind, I knew we were out of the playoffs, and the young guys were just getting called up to play in the NHL. Got there my 3rd year, cut again, disappointment. Went to the minors, got called up again at the end of the year. We were out of the playoffs. 4th year was the lockout. 5th year, I made the team out of camp and then cut after 20 games. So a lot of disappointment, a lot of, we're talking about adversity and dealing with things that you can't, things don't go your way. And it was my first time kind of, I never got cut from a team in minor hockey, never got cut, never sat one period in junior, and then all of a sudden you get to pro, and I don't have the tools to deal with all this disappointment. So one thing for you guys now is, there's a saying, you can't teach someone to swim when they're drowning, and that was kind of my first 5 years of pro hockey. I was drowning and I was trying to learn how to swim at that time. You gotta kind of develop your skills to deal with things where they don't go your way later. I know you guys are young right now, but like I talked about, the things you say to yourself, the words you use, your thoughts, your habits, your routines, you need to prepare yourself, because there's gonna be a time when coach doesn't play you, you get cut, things don't go your way, you gotta go down to junior B, you gotta go down to the minors, and you need the tools to learn how to deal with that. And you guys are at an age now where it's good to kind of develop that stuff. And it's really important, especially later in your career. If you want to, make it a career, it's really important to kind of those tools that you want to deal when you have all the adversity and all the stress. You guys get later teens and early 20s and you start your career.
I think that's a very interesting point, because I don't think you guys, like, once you make the majors, I don't think anybody ever gets sent back down, right? Yeah, so once you're in, you're in. Same with you guys, once you're in. I did not know that, it's such a fast switch up and down that you have to continue to fight for your spot.
Yeah.
And I think people just don't realize, like, oh, you made it, it's there, and it's like, well, no, I gotta continue. Because that was one of my questions, like, when did you feel like you really hit your stride from, let's say, like a strength point of view, nutrition point of view, like everything was just firing on all cylinders, and you knew you belonged, and you were like, okay, now I'm here.
Yeah, so that year we worked together in the summertime. That 06, 07 year, played a full year at the Coyotes, but things were really good. I had a great summer, I had a great camp. Camp felt like, it didn't feel like camp, which I think is very important. Your training camp, when you guys go to camp, I don't know, 14, 15, maybe 18, it gets a little bit tougher. But OHL, college, AHL, NHL, camp's usually very hard. And I got to that point with Duguay where camp was easy. And that was kind of my first year. Usually it was something really tough to go through. And by the time it was over, I had nothing left to start the season. So we worked out so hard in the summertime where when I got to camp, it was just it was almost easier than my summer training, which I think was really important. And it was different. I get asked a lot as well, what do you do for camp? How do you taper? Do you stop skating? Do you stop working out? I still don't know what the right answer. Everybody's different. You gotta work with your strength guy, work with your team. I got into doing long distance races. I've been running 100-kilometer ultras, and I still don't know. I was in 6 races this past year, and I got another one in 2 weeks. I still don't know how to kind of get ready that week before. So the week before camp, 2 weeks before, it's still a guessing game and figuring out what's right. But trying different things out. If something didn't work last year at the start of the season, try something different.
Yeah. So when it comes to the nutrition, we can really talk about that when it comes to the rehabilitation phase and preparing for the workouts so that you don't die. Yeah,
nutrition's it's a funny one, right? What works for one player might not work for another. Some guys like to eat 6 times throughout the day. Some guys eat 2 big meals. I played around with all the diets. Their first one was Fit for Life, fruit only before noon. I've done the vegetarian, I've done pescatarian, I did vegan for 5 years. I've done all these different things, and now I'm mostly working on fasting throughout the week at certain times, and a ketogenic diet essentially, and I've done just carnivore. So I've been at both ends of the spectrum. What actually works, everybody's different. This diet I'm on right now seems to work the best. I kind of wish I was on it when I played, but I never did it. It was kind of dangerous at the time, right? High meat consumption, and then now all the athletes I follow for the long distance stuff anyways, majority of them are all keto and they're high carnivore. It's a little different being vegan for 5 years, eating animals, and it's controversial what diet you should be on. There's different cultures, and I respect always, but it's something you kind of have to figure out for yourself. And when you're playing, I talk to a lot of kids about diet, nutrition, and you just want to, like the big things, you got to eliminate all the processed foods. You got to keep things as natural as possible, and it can be difficult, but it's possible to do. And obviously, a lot of you guys aren't doing your own grocery shopping, but sit down with your parent or guardian and really kind of have a plan with what you want to eat before a game and how you want to fuel after a game, which I thought was sometimes more important, how you eat and how you recover, which will affect the next day. So if you're not recovered and fueled the right way, you get up the next morning, are you getting ready for that back-to-back or the 3-3 or the 3-4, and you're gonna kind of burn out. So nutrition is really important. I just try to keep no processed foods. That's the most important. I don't tell you guys exactly what to eat, but right now my diet, like I said, I intermittent fast is what they call it, so I'm usually not eating between 6 and noon, 6 p.m. to noon. And then I'll have like one meal at noon, 1 o'clock, and then I might have a second meal at around 5:30. And most days it's just one meal. My nephew follows me a lot. I have a 60-year-old nephew, and he sees what I'm doing. He's trying to do it, and I don't think it works. So he's having the one meal after school at 3 o'clock, but then he's snacking all the way till the time he goes to bed at 10 o'clock, which is like against the diet, right? If you're gonna have that one meal or 2 meals, I suggest for him, he wants to do this new diet, but it's like, have your major meals. I like to avoid those snacks in between. Like, have your big meal, and it's all right to kind of, I think it's okay to have a little bit of hunger, a little bit of time. And the reason I'm saying this, and why it's interesting, and it didn't happen to my last couple of years, is I got really sick. I was playing in the Swedish Elite League with Djurgården. I got really sick, and if I was in North America, I would have been given pharmaceuticals, and I asked for antibiotics. I went into the doctor's office, and he's like, "We're not prescribe you anything." And I was like, "I just want some pills. I gotta get back. We have 2 games next week. Like, I need to take these now." And he's like, "We don't do things like you guys do in North America. We do things the natural way. We try." And I was like, "Well, I don't even know what that means." Because my whole career, it was anti-inflammatory cream, anti-inflammatory pills, injections, cortisol, painkillers, sleeping pills, Sudafed uppers for games. It was just constantly pharmaceuticals in my system, and 90% of them are not even allowed. No one takes them anymore. They're banned. So I always tell players kind of be cautious with what you take. So I go to the doctor in Sweden. I said, "What do I do then?" It was bad. I had high fever, night sweats, body aches. I couldn't even play, so they told me to go home and only have water until I stopped night sweating. Well, that took 4 days, 4.5 days. I sat in my apartment and didn't leave. I called the doctor. He came over, some guy came over, one of the assistants, with fishball soup, and this garlic drink, and I was like, drank that, and then I was allowed to go to the rink and practice. I got for that next game, and that was the best I ever felt, and that was from not eating. So I started to play around with that, really watching what I eat at what time, because how is it possible not to eat for 4 days and to come out and be that good on the ice? But this didn't happen for the last couple of years. So then I was like, well, what else is out there? This is something I had never done before, and I felt that good with my diet. There's got to be something else. So I'm always kind of looking for the edge, and all the top guys, they have nutritionists, they have their trainers. They're always trying to find that edge, whether it's with diet, working out, and yeah, nutrition is a tough one. Like I I hate telling players like what exactly, like I want to know exactly what to eat. And I was like, you got to figure what that is. You might eat at 1 o'clock, you might eat at 4 o'clock for a game. You find out. Some of the teams I'm working with now, I coach the U11 and U13 AAA Waxers, and they're getting sheets on like what to eat, and they have a dietitian that comes in. So everyone's wondering why the game is getting so much better. It starts at your age now. There are all the kids now are training a lot. Like I didn't train as much. You guys that are training in the summertime, I didn't really start looking at that until I got to junior level at 16, and I wish I'd started earlier with like, you know, all the stuff that you're working on right now and making sure you're you know, setting those building blocks when you're older. And I don't know if it's something Duguay has talked to you guys a lot about, but the training to get better is almost like the third most important about summer training, I think. The number one thing for me when I trained in the summertime was it gave me a mental edge on the ice. And I overtrained probably, if I look back. I'll let you know what some of my training. He probably doesn't even know because I didn't want to tell him what I was doing for training a full day. But the biggest thing that summer training does is it gives you a mental edge on the ice. You're like, okay, I just put in 10 hours. I'm going to be good on the ice. The training in the gym, yeah, it's going to get you stronger. It's going to get you better. But like, is it actually going to make you? So it was almost a mental edge where I was putting all this work in the summertime, and it did. I worked out every day with the guy, Mike Camilleri, who's a 40-goal scorer, 38 goals he had, and he was like smaller than me, wasn't as strong, wasn't even a good hockey player as I was, but he trained all day, and it was like, it gave him this mental edge, and I didn't really understand it. Yeah, the confidence until I stopped playing. So that's the biggest thing. You're going to get on the ice, you're like, I put all that work in, I'm going to be better. Okay? The second thing that you want to do in the summer training is you want to prevent injuries later on. And a lot of my injuries, I had surgery 7 times when I was pro. All those injuries were from junior not taking care of things. Shoulder injuries, hip injuries. I had abdominal surgery, and I worked out a lot, but not enough, because I had torn abdominal, hip, and a lot of it was in junior, not addressing injuries, not recovering, and not taking that seriously. And that affected me later on. So I think the whole training aspect of getting stronger and becoming a better player physically is like the third thing on the list. So don't just go in there because other guys are doing it. There's a lot that can come and kind of really, you know, set your career on the right trajectory by starting. And it's like your habits and your routine. I don't want to talk about habit and routine. It's something all my players I coach, I always start off, you have to get wins throughout your day. You never want to show up at practice or a game and have a couple of things that don't go your way, or you're looking for something in that game, or when you come to the rink. You should be building up small wins throughout the day. Either at school, you know, I did well on a test, I did all my homework early, I finished my assignment 5 days early, so I went at school. Like, how many guys here, is your room clean and you guys make your bed in the morning? How many guys make their bed every morning?
For real.
Yeah, like that's your first win of the day. It's like my bed. Okay, second win. Did you clean your room? Is your room spotless? All the good players I played with, I always ask them, like, what kind of things you do? It's like, I always make sure my room is clean in the morning. I'm like, why does that matter? And I get it now as I'm older. So I get all my guys I work with, all the minor hockey teams, do your bed in the morning, make sure your room is spotless. That's the first thing. Okay? It just sets your day up. Okay? How many guys get ready 2 minutes before you have to be at school? Like, guys, I ask these questions because I got to live with my nephews for 2 years, and I got to see. It's like they have to get pulled out of bed and dragged 2 minutes before school starts. And I'm on them, like, get your habits started now. Wake up an hour before you have to wake up. Make sure you're there, whether I'm driving to school or your mom, and make sure you're ready to go an hour before. Either start reading on books you have to read, on other projects that you have, and get ready for your school day. Don't get ready 2 minutes before you have to go on, go to class. So these are the little things of routine, like how bad do you want it? Because if I asked you guys right now, what are 3 things that you do to become a successful player? You're gonna put, I work hard, I summer train. Okay guys, that's shoot pucks after. If I asked 1 million kids your age right now, got them right down to the 3 things they do, everybody's saying the same things. Okay, so throw that out. What are you doing besides the 3-4 things I just asked you to be the best player, best version of yourself? You got to go beyond your first 3 or 4 answers, because every kid in the world at your age that's trying to get to the OHL or trying to get to the NHL, they're all doing that stuff. So what else are you doing? Okay, I'm waking up an hour early. Okay, I'm not going to this party on Friday night with all my friends. Like, you think Sidney Crosby partied? He didn't even go out there, like when he's making $9 million a year. I always ask him, like, what are your summers like? You go away on the weekends, you party? He goes, no, I train every single day. I take 1 day off, and it's like, I'm doing something. Doesn't mean he's overtraining, but he's like, I go do drink, you party on the weekends. He's like, I went out twice last summer. That's the best player in the world. And I played him when he was 22. He'd already made $100 million in his career. And this guy doesn't go out, doesn't party, doesn't do anything. It's like, he's so concentrated, so focused. So for you guys, you want to get better, what else are you doing that no one else is doing?
Sacrifice.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to set, you want to get something, you want to get to the NHL, the OHL, college, junior B, you gotta do something, you're gonna have to sacrifice and give something up. And it's difficult. Like, you guys are, like, a lot of the hockey players I work with, like, you're elite athletes at your age. You can't look at what other kids are doing in school, and this is the hardest thing. I'm teaching my U11s and U12s because they want to play video games for 5 hours a day. I'm like, I don't mind half an hour. I think it's good for your vestibular system, your eyesight, your vision. But past that, you're frying your brain, your vestibular system's being taxed too much, and then you're going to play games. So I can see some kids. And I asked the parent, how much video game? I'm like, well, are they playing all day? We had a game at 2 o'clock on a Saturday. They're like, yeah, they're playing video games from 8 till noon. And like, you can't come and play and be your best version. So what are you giving up? And you can't look to your friends. You guys are athletes. You're the elite of the elite. And you have to do things differently than, I hate saying it, than everybody else at school, whatever they're doing, whether it's partying, video games.
Mike, I got a question. Summer hockey. What's your summer like between seasons?
Yeah, so I like to play another sport, do something different. When we were training, we played a lot of squash, which was, I did that, I golfed a little bit. So when I was playing, obviously it was tough to play a full-time other sport. Growing up, I played a lot of soccer. So I played soccer about the same as I did with, as much soccer as I did hockey. I did do summer hockey growing up, where it was like 4 or 5 traveling tournaments a year. That was about it. Like I mentioned earlier, you gotta love it. And as soon as the love is gone, it's really hard to compete. Doesn't matter who you are, if you're a checker, third liner, top goal scorer, best defense, stay-at-home defense, goaltender, backup goaltender, as soon as you stop loving it, like hockey's a creative game. It doesn't matter what your role is, there is a creativity to it, and as soon as you don't love it, it's really hard to go out there and perform. Because then when you get to junior and the OHL, you're playing 65, 70 games a year. Then at the pro level, you're playing 80. And if you don't love it, by the time you get there, that's probably the biggest thing, is that guys fizzle out. Because they're just, it gets
mentally exhausted.
Yeah, you get tired with it. So you want to figure out how to keep yourself as fresh as you can and excited when the season starts. And if you can do that by training and doing something 100 times, good. If it's only 20 times, fine. You never want to be mentally drained starting the season, and you have to love it. I've never seen a player not make the NHL by just playing their, like, I've never seen a player not get there by just, failing or I've never seen anybody. Every player that didn't make it that I played with, they quit. And I try to tell a player, I had one guy when he was young, Mark Giordano. I'm not sure if you heard of the Mark Giordano. He started for years.
Yep.
He came to me in his first and second year in the minors, and he was not getting the call up. I think Calgary started, and he's like, should I just go to Europe and quit, and I told him, like, the only way you don't make the NHL is if you quit. And that's a prime, I have like dozens of players like that come up to me. He's probably the one I remember who came to me young. And was like, I've had enough of this. Maybe in a second year, he's like, I can't make it. Like, what do I do? And I always tell him, and it's a saying you guys have heard a lot, right? So you can't fail until you quit. And there's not one player that didn't make the NHL that just played their career out and just weren't good enough. I'd never seen it. Every player that didn't make it quit at some point. Quit, went over to Europe, and you have to make your own decisions, or quit because they weren't having fun, or quit because they were just tired of failing. So it's a tough lesson. It's tough because I was in that same spot. I wanted to quit 100 times, and it's part of the whole tools. I didn't have the tools to deal with rejection and not making it. It was just hard from 20 to 26. And it wasn't until I was 26 where I took responsibility, and I blamed everybody. I blamed the line mates I had in training camp. I blamed my workout program wasn't good enough. I blamed the coach didn't like me. I blamed this is a bad team. I didn't get the right games in exhibition, and I have to change the way I'm approaching this. Everything is my fault. And until I really said that out loud to myself and really believed it, that everything good and everything bad, it's all your fault. Until you can get to that point, it's really difficult. That's when real changes start to happen, and you'll get the best out of yourself.